Jablam Hockey, folks. I'm your host, Peter Bojarinov. You can find me on Twitter at Russian98, and I am with.
Conner Rowntree. You can find me on Twitter at SportsWithTree.
And you can find both of us on Twitter at Jablam Hockey. And of course, you can hashtag us. Please do so on Twitter. Hashtag Jablam, hashtag Jablam Hockey, or even just hashtag JHockey. And please go check out our website, jablamhockey.com. Again, if you haven't spelled Jablam before, it's Jablam, and of course, hockey. We've got our old blogs on there. We have all our episodes on there. And we've separated our Team ISOs whenever we talk about different teams on the Team ISO page. And we got cool facts on there too.
Everything you need, hockey fans. Everything you need.
Yeah. And what do we have this episode? Well, we're going to be grading the biggest trades of the trade deadline, Conner and I. We've got a few guests, so check that out. They're going to be talking about the Tampa trade or the Philly trade, how they've impacted on the team so far. And Conner even asks how they feel with those trades, how far they can go into the playoffs. And then we're going to finish up with some fantasy up and down with Conner. But first, trending now. Conner, is it possible there could be a new team in the NHL in just like less than 2 years?
Yeah, it feels like tomorrow right now. Jerry Bruckheimer standing on a stage with those goggles on is like the front page if you go to anything if you type in NHL Seattle. And that's huge, just knowing that there's that big a fish in the pond. And remember, they were looking for 10,000 deposits for tickets, and they got up to 25,000 in, 12 minutes?
It's ridiculous. Yeah, over 10,000 in 12 minutes. John Shannon even tweeted. Other guys were tweeting. It's crazy. They had, I think, over 28,000 season ticket group packages for tickets. It's crazy.
It's absolutely absurd. Like, I'm just it really shows you the demand of how high the demand is for hockey in that market, and it is a hockey market after all. I mean, and it makes sense. It's just below Vancouver. There's really nothing there between, I guess, California, and obviously there's the three teams there. But I don't really think if you're from Washington, or especially the Seattle area or even the Portland area, that you want to be associated with a California team. If you want to associate it, you'd probably want to be a Canucks fan, right? So I think bringing a team into Seattle will really give something for them to cheer about.
Yeah. I'm still not a little bit of a fan of maybe the Key Arena because it's a little further away from the downtown core, I feel. But they've done fairly well there before. So they're spending a lot of money rebuilding basically that arena.
Yeah, it's been, the renovation charge is up over $400 million. So that's a lot of money to pour into an old arena. But at the same time, it was always more of a basketball oriented arena. So I'm sure they're adding way more of a hockey, as I guess you could say, hockey tweaks to it. Because by the sounds of it, there could be a basketball or a hockey team there way before there'd be a basketball team there, especially at this rate.
Yeah, for sure. All right. What else? This weekend happening. It's crazy. It's the Leafs, Capitals, Stadium Series in Annapolis in the Navy Marines Memorial Stadium. Should be a blast, but there's a lot of wind problems. So I know they canceled the practices and everything, but hopefully they're good for game time.
Yeah, well, lots of windbreakers, like those old skiing windbreakers you see in the 80s movies. Cover your face, go full, you're going to have to go full ski mask out there. It's going to be cold.
I haven't seen like those windbreaker people wearing them much. Do they still wear them a lot in football? I remember like 10, 15 years ago always wanting to get one. I never got one, like the pullover and everything.
Yeah, I've seen it. I had a couple teammates that did it in football a couple times, and lacrosse in those cold or snowy games. But I definitely seen it on a couple of the guys at the Toronto game last year. I was at that game at BMO Field, and it was freezing. And those guys were those. There were definitely a couple of guys wearing it. I think Matthews was actually wearing one. I'm sure you could Google that to figure that out, but I do believe he was. And yeah, that was cold. So I don't think it's a forgotten style by any means. But I love how it would just be hilarious if it would just start to snow. Because those winds with snow would make the Leafs look invisible. It would be impossible to watch the game if you were in the crowd.
If have you checked out the jerseys? Like the Leafs are pretty much. They look That's the only thing I kind of don't like because they look almost identical to the Centennial jerseys they had the year before, but it's just the reverse of full white, which is the blue stripes.
Yeah, well, I like it's got the navy reference on it too. That's cool. How they're playing there, and the slogan on the back of the neck, where it usually has the little Leafs tags that they change on their many jerseys. I don't know, Peter. Do you think it's too many jerseys at this point?
Well, no, it's never too many jerseys in my mind, especially if they're doing them right. Uh, but I do feel when they wear the stadium jerseys, why not try to make them kind of a little bit more abstract? I understand this is the NHL, and then there's the NBA where they have like Miami Vice jerseys coming out. There's like Cleveland, and it's called the Land on the jersey. Like that's too much with the crazy colors and everything. But it would be nice if the NHL just did it a little bit once in a blue moon, especially if it's just a one-off, one-day jersey to do a little bit something unique.
Yeah. Um, I think I might buy one. I don't know. I've seen them. I'm looking at them now. They're really, I don't know. They're pretty simple. I'm I I don't know.
You're really on the fence about this, Connor. I probably actually might buy one because I love William Nylander so much. I've got my Matthews, but I really, really want a Nylander, and this might be the only new one we have for the next while.
Yeah, well, I'm with you there. I got the Matthews, obviously the rookie year jersey. I had to buy that. Then I went with the St. Pat's. I went with the cancer fighting hero Brian Boyle because I love that guy. Guy is made out of everything that I love about hockey. And then I got the William Nylander with the arena jerseys because I thought those were pretty cool with the big T.
Well, you got pretty much all. I've only gotten out of the new ones just the Centennial because I'm not a big fan of the basic one that the Leafs have, the home and away. I kind of like these Centennial ones a fair bit more than the regular ones, and I haven't got any of the other specialty ones, but the Centennial one I got, and then maybe I might get this one. So it's and unique enough and much better than the regular ones, in my opinion.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to Leafs and their ticket pricing. Apparently, I think it was James Myrtle. He's currently at, of course, the Athletic. And just so you know, everybody, go to our website, jablamhockey.com. On our episode pages, we always try to put a few links on there. And I've linked the article of his, of course, and of course a few of these other things that we've mentioned in the trending now. But he wrote a quick short article about the increase and how fans aren't really happy about it. They're having their say on Twitter and even on his article about a 15% increase roughly for season ticket packaging, which means probably even for singles tickets next year it's going to be higher. But it's ridiculous. The Leafs are already pretty much the highest tickets in the league, and they're increasing them again.
They're the most valuable franchise in the league, but you know what? They can. And because they can, they will. And it's not going to stop either because people are going to keep paying it no matter what. They're going to keep going up until every fan. Maybe it's possible in the day of this on social media. Maybe it's possible that all the fans rally together and stop it on Twitter. But instead of say, hey, let's not buy some tickets. But until everyone stands up, those tickets are going to get sold. It's sad. It's taking advantage of people. It really is. But Torontonians, we love our hockey. So I don't see it stopping.
Yeah. It's tough. I haven't seen a game in I think it's 7 or 8 years. I went once because I got a ticket from a friend, and that's pretty much it. I've gone to a lot of hockey games, but they have not been at the ACC for like the last 6, 7 years.
I go to as many games as I can, wherever I can. I'm with you, but going to the ACC, I'll do it, but it hurts. It hurts the pocket every time.
I feel the pain, and you know what? This is season ticket holders, so they do get a bit of a discount because they're season tickets, but at the same time they're buying a big package of tickets, so it's a lot of money. But you must be somewhat fairly decently rich if you're getting your season ticket package.
Yeah, but the whole point is that you shouldn't have to. You shouldn't have to be. Nowhere else do you have to be to get season tickets. I mean, it's absurd. It's annoying. It's absurd. It makes me angry. I'm angry. I don't like it. Just and the thing is, it's that just everyone's gonna keep buying them. So, as I said earlier, we love our hockey as Torontonians, and we as Torontonians, we're not going to stop paying for them. Like it's amazing now. The entertainment, the quality on the ice is arguably, possibly worth the value of the ticket now. Before it was absurd, and people still paid. Now the team's great, so I don't see anyone that doesn't want to see the Leafs play.
Well, as a few people have mentioned on Twitter, they increased them 10, 11% last year, and another big increase again this year. It's like an over 21% increase within 2 years.
Yeah.
That's too much. All right,
Yeah,
moving
ridiculous.
on. We all know what happened in with the Majory Stoneman Douglas School in Florida, and it was great to see a veteran and leader in Roberto Luongo come out before the Florida Panthers game last week and actually give a fair bit of a long speech there. Quoting him, "I live in Parkland. I've been living here for the last 12 years. My wife was born and raised in that area. My kids go to school in Parkland. When I'm done playing hockey, I want to spend the rest of my life in Parkland. I love that city. It's time for us as a community to take action. It's enough. Enough is enough." You know, it gives me goosebumps just reading what he said. And then he also goes on to, tell about how the kids are standing up, and he's telling them how brave they are and that they need to look in the future and change some of these laws. Um, I was so proud of Luongo, and of course we're proud of these students who stand up for the victims at MSD and with the hashtag MSD Strong. And then Luongo goes out and has a really good game, and he's been playing so great for them lately too, which is amazing.
Yeah, it's a really nice way to pull the community together. There's no doubt. And the best part is that he was calling them all heroes, all the kids. It was really great. There really isn't much to say about that. Just that the way he finished the speech, just calling all the kids heroes, and it really shows you that sometimes it doesn't matter how old you are, you can really make waves. And those high school students down in the States are doing great things right now to hopefully stop a lot of violence and a lot of pointless lives lost.
All right, Connor, let's grade some of the biggest trades of the NHL trade deadline this year. There was quite a few of them, but let's bang them out. First, we go with Philly getting Peter Mrazek, as we talked about in the interview with Kelly. This is a great move by the Flyers. I'm going to give them an A. I think this is probably the best move, for both reasons. Flyers need a good goalie, and I think isn't Elliott injured or something right now?
Yeah, Brian Elliott. Well, he's also getting really old, and Mrazek's also really young. So it really plays out to their benefit. I believe Mrazek's 25 years old. So he's got a bright future ahead of him. So I think that's a huge thing here in this trade, and also the price they got him at. So I'd agree with you. I'd probably go B plus, just because of there were other goaltenders available that they maybe could have possibly worked a better deal out with. But it was still a pretty solid deal, so I'll give him the B plus.
I'm giving the Flyers A. They picked up exactly what they needed.
Yeah, but they also though, would you be giving them that A if Peter Mrazek wasn't 4-5 with a shutout and just been playing unbelievable since he got to Philly?
You know what? I think he was still very good with Detroit. He was not bad with Detroit.
He was just having a tough season.
But again, who is he playing with in Detroit? You cannot put it all on Mrazek. That's like
Oh no, I'm not putting it all on either Mrazek or Howard. I'm not saying that. I'm just stating the facts that there were 1A goaltenders out there available, like a guy like Robin Lehner, who I actually think Mrazek is better than Lehner. I'm just saying, in the grand scheme of things.
I think Mrazek was probably much the best one available in my opinion. And again, if you compare solid goalies on bad teams like say the Oilers, you love Devin Dubnyk, and that's another goalie you can look at that couldn't shine behind a bad defense.
Yep, I know. I totally agree.
There you go. And then again, what they gave up for Mrazek wasn't much, but again, from the wing standpoint, they're getting something almost again for nothing. I feel that if you're giving
I
up,
give the Wings a C on that trade. They should have got more for him.
they should have got more. That's for sure. But again, they're conditional, so they could be better if Flyers go deep. We don't know if they will, but they could. But it's I'm questioning their choice of shutting out Mrazek from a organizational standpoint, and that's what I kind of don't like there.
No, it was handled poorly by the team and by the organization. Obviously, with all the media in Toronto, we see that with players going in and out of the city all the time, right? So it's nothing new to us, but it's unfortunate that it happens, and they lost a great goaltender for a very minimal price because of it.
Yeah, so I'm gonna give the Red Wings a C minus.
Ooh, nice low ball on me.
And what does your dog give?
I think that bark is. I think he was saying that's an F. I think that's what that bark was. That was a hard F.
And yourself?
Well, I'm gonna stick with my C. I think they deserve a C for it. I mean, they were able to get something for a guy that everyone knew that they clearly wanted out of town, but they definitely should have got more for him.
All right, let's move over to the trade that a lot of people didn't like because there was a three-way trade. But in the end, Derek Brassard goes to the Penguins with Vincent Dunn and a third. It was a three-way move, so it's hard to explain how everything goes. But in the end, Pittsburgh also gets Lindbergh from the Golden Knights. The Golden Knights receive Ryan Reeves and a fourth, the Vancouver pick that Ottawa originally had. And then Ottawa picks up a nice package of Ian Cole, Philip Gustafson, a first and a third. First off, I'm going to have to give a B plus to the Senators.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with an A to the Senators. They got a lot. They sold a cow and got a farm. That was like Derek Brassard. At the end of the day, that was Derek Brassard they traded. I mean, they turned Mika Zibanejad into Derek Brassard into that. A pick, a goaltender a potential goalie of the future, first round. Like, wow. I'm hats off to the Senators on that one.
Yeah, they did a pretty good job. And let's see what they get out of these picks. But yeah, I think Gustafson could be a goalie of the future. The first round pick is solid, and the third, let's see what they go and work with that. As for the Penguins, I give them another A minus because they have Broussard now as like a depth center for them.
Yeah, and Broussard was also scored 7 goals in 10 games going into getting traded to Pittsburgh. So they're getting a hot Broussard too. And the guy can play. A third line center? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's crazy. The Golden Knights are retaining 40% of his salary. So not only are the Leafs retaining 1.2 million of Kessel's salary, so they get him for cheaper, they're getting Broussard for almost half his price tag now.
Yeah, no, that's good stuff. So Pittsburgh, in my opinion, I give that a B plus again. Obviously, they get the guy that they needed to push. It was a great trade, and they were able to pull everything off. The reason I give it a B plus is because I just don't think it was spectacular. Where the Ottawa trade, that was really spectacular to me. And then Vegas, for me, I don't know about you, Peter, but they can afford to take that on, so good for them. Unless there's some future considerations down the line, I don't really like that deal. So as of right now, I'm giving them a D minus on that. I'm going low.
I'm only giving them an F because of they're helping out the Penguins. What are you guys doing? You guys are so mean to the rest of the league. You know who you are and you know what I'm gonna call you, but I can't say the word. All right, let's move on. Rick Nash goes to the Bruins for wowzers to the New York Rangers, a first round pick 2018, Ryan Spooner, Lindgren, a seventh round pick in 2019, and Matt Bolesky.
Draft picks, Ryan Spooner, Lindgren, love it. Absolutely love it. Rick Nash, okay, goodbye. Hello, New York Rangers. That was great. I know Matt Bolesky, they got to keep him, but at the end of the day, will he be on the team at the start of the next season? That's we'll see. But for salary purposes, it makes sense. And then just what they got outside of that is amazing. So I give the Rangers a solid A on that, and I give Boston. I'll give them the B minus because of Rick Nash's history. He's not the player that he used to be. They gave up a lot to get him, but if he can help, if he can get hot in the playoffs, it could be worth it. So I'm not giving them a failing grade, nothing below a C. So a B minus on, I guess, because it could work out, but I think they gave up too much.
I actually like the trade for both sides. I think Rick Nash, I think he plays well with the Bruins how they play. And that's why I like it for them. So that's why I'm giving them a B plus. I think if Nash can fit well on either the second or the third line, and I love how he plays in the corners, possessioning of the puck is valuable to his style and to the way the Bruins play. I really like that, and I think he'll be even better for them in the playoffs. He's not being counted upon like he was with the Rangers every single season in the playoffs on the first line and guys banging on him. He's going to be second line, maybe even third line. He's going to get a lot more opportunities, and he might actually explode in the playoffs.
I still, yeah, I agree.
And the Rangers, I got to give him an A minus. I like everything except for that Bolesky contract. That's still a few more years.
I don't think he'll be around. I think they'll either move him, cut him, buy him out, whatever they got to do.
If they have to have that cap hit on their contract, again, it's not that bad. You know what? It's not that bad actually. If they're doing a semi rebuild and if it lasts 2-3 years, hey, it's not that bad because what's a 4 million to anything on a rebuild? But if they do on a quick rebuild, that might hurt them a little bit.
Well, maybe they'll just pull an expansion draft, do a Vegas, and be in first place in the league. Who knows?
I've been talking about this for years. I was saying even before when teams were trading players, older guys like a Pronger or Datsuk, their contracts to Arizona to keep them. I was already saying, why don't you do a back move and get teams to take on 50% of the contract, and then you get a good player like the Penguins did, or even a better player. I was already thinking about why don't teams do that, and then of course a team like the Penguins go ahead and do that for Broussard. So annoying sometimes. All right. Predators now get Hartman and a fifth round pick in 2018 from the Blackhawks. And they recoup a first round pick, Victor Egisel, I believe you can say, and 2018 fourth round pick.
It's not really the Blackhawks style for me. Usually the Blackhawks go and they trade their picks to get players, younger players that are more proven. So Bowman's going against his grain here in trading Hartman, but at the same time, Hartman's going to be an expensive player to keep. And that's always a problem in Chicago. And clearly this year, although Chicago is not far from a 500 team, and they're having a pretty good season, they're in that Central Division, which is just a dogfight. So they're not even going to come close to the playoffs this year, and it's time for them to maybe try to find the next Patrick Kane or Jonathan Toews. So it makes sense for me. Nashville gets the guy they need, the guy they wanted. So I'll give Nashville the B plus, and I give Chicago a B.
You know what? I'm actually giving the Blackhawks a B plus because Hawks fans, be happy. You won 3 Stanley Cups. Get used to not being so great anymore. You got too much cap on some great players, and I know. Go ahead.
I just don't. I don't think anyone would want to accept that, right? I mean, any fan base. And to be honest with you, next season they could be right back in the thick of it. They still got a pretty solid team. Just if they can get some younger skaters on the blue line that are pretty solid and take the pressure off Duncan Keith, then they should be all right. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
How you loving Brent Seabrook on the blue line, Connor?
He's so old.
So when I was on vacation, I talked to like two Blackhawks fans, and they're just hating on him especially this one guy too. But both of them, they were both like, I don't like him, and the other guy was like, he was ripping on him every single second of every game. Even the one game, I think he finished with like 2 assists and a +2, and he was still like he was horrible.
Yeah, no, but that's hockey fans in general. You're always gonna have those guys in every city, right? Brett Seabrook's been a great player for the Hawks. It's just he's getting older, right? And he's becoming a bit of a pylon.
Yeah. So how are you going to move that contract unless magically again they move him to one of those lower tier teams and get just almost nothing for him, but at least move in that contract? Maybe they can do that, and they will probably have to if they really want to rebound fast, right, into a good team anymore. But they've been really, really bad this year. And one reason, of course, we know it's Crawford. But there's other holes in that team right now because of salary cap problems.
Yeah, Crawford having vertigo is probably the worst thing ever. Your goalie not being able to stand up because he's just literally dysfunctioned. That's really not good. Vertigo is that's a tough nut to crack.
Yeah. But so in terms of this trade, I'm not a big fan of the Predators, actually.
They gave up too much.
They gave up too much for Hartman. And again, I don't know how much cap space they have, but he's an RFA. And he's going to want a decent raise. So if they don't resign him, I do not like this trade at all for them.
Yeah, well, I think he will fit very well the same way you think Nash will fit well in Boston, and that's a good point. Hartman's a fast winger that will fit really nicely beside Forsberg or anyone else there. If Fisher does end up coming back, he can add speed on that wing, and he can play in the middle of the ice too. Like he's a very valuable piece to have. He's fast and he's got a great finish. So I think they got a player there that could help them out just because of their speed and because it's really what he's equipped to do.
All right, let's go to Winnipeg, and they magically, out of nowhere, get Paul Stastny.
Yeah, that was random. That was. Did you see Braden Shen after that? Holy, he was livid. He was livid. And it's his first year in St. Louis. That's the crazy part. It's his first year there. You think a guy that might have been there a little longer would be a little upset. Yeah, but you gotta understand. I understand where he's coming from, right? You want to make the playoffs. Every team wants to win a Stanley Cup, and then you go and trade a guy like Stastny, who solid centerman, can still pot maybe right around 20 goals a season. So he's a pretty solid piece to be given up. So the Jets, though, on the other hand, they got a great center. As I said, he can get some damage done, and he's been around the block.
Yeah. Well, Shen shouldn't be complaining if he helped the team win once in the last 7 games, maybe, Maybe that would have helped.
Well, I still think Shen overall has been. I mean, I think he can complain a little bit. I know he hasn't been playing that well of late, but overall, I think he's been their best player this season. I mean, I guess it's definitely up for debate, but he's been pretty lights out since moving there, and he like that trade for Yuri Laterra. That was the trade, and Shen he's got almost 20. He's got 24 goals and 57 points, so that's 33 assists. I mean, he's having himself a pretty solid campaign.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I don't mind some of these moves sometimes by the Blues by moving guys and getting stuff before they're gone as free agents. And I don't mind this move by the Blues. I feel bad now that they probably won't make the playoffs now, but that's their fault. But for the GM, it's not a bad move, so I'm gonna give them a B minus. As for the Jets, if that's exactly what they needed, we'll see. I'm not too sure how to give them a rating right now, but
That's me on the Nash deal. That's why I just gave him the B minus because it could be better. It could just go flat in their face, blow up in their face. So I'm going B minus on both teams in that one.
yeah, I've never been a big fan of Stastny in the playoffs too. So that's where I'm questioning marking, but I'm gonna give him B minus for now. All right, let's move on. What else we got? Oh, the Sharks, of course, get Evander Holyfield Kane, and the Sabres get that first round pick, a fourth round pick, and Danny O'Regan.
Yeah, that's big time. I like. I don't know. Sorry, Peter. I didn't mean to interrupt, but I like Patrick Kane. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. But Evander Kane, I like him a lot. San Jose, obviously, we talked about it in earlier in the show. He's living with Joe Thornton. If he can buy into Jumbo Joe's team, I know it's Pavelski's team. He's the captain, but if he can buy into that mindset of a team and really play hard, this could be a great piece for them moving forward. So I'm going A, and I think Buffalo should have got. I know Kane has a history, but you got to get more than what they got. So I'm going A to San Jose. I know it's conditional. There's conditional draft picks, but I'm going B minus to Buffalo as of right now.
Yeah, the only thing is that again, there's been a little bit of that turmoil with Kane, and especially lately again with the Sabres, and he hasn't been as good as he was just last season. So yeah, Sharks.
I mean, he hit 30 goals in Winnipeg one. He hit 30 goals in Winnipeg one year. Hit 28 in Buffalo one year. Like so, he is a spotty player no matter where he goes. But if he, as I said, if he can buy into the organization, which it seems like he has early on, I think this will be a great, great, great payoff. Just not just this year, but possibly in the future if he stays in San Jose.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm same here. I'm gonna go with B plus for the Sharks and a C plus for the Sabres. All right, the Golden Knights pick up Thomas Tatar, and they give up a first in 2018, second in 2019, and a third in 2021 to the Red Wings. I don't know how much or how well Tatar will fit on the Golden Knights. That's the only thing I don't like about this so much. And uh, they gave up a lot for Tatar, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. It's not so much giving up a lot for Tatar, obviously, with guys like Broussard going for first round picks as well. It's giving up a lot for Tatar plus that contract. That's a pretty hefty contract. Now, let's keep in mind, Tatar has scored 20 goals in past 3 seasons and even got up to 28 goals one of those years. And 45, he's been plus 45 points all 3 of those years as well. So he's still a point producer, and he's worth that if he's playing on a good team. Now this year, obviously, just 16 goals. That's not really. Sorry, I believe it's 14 goals, 16 assists that he has. That's not really 12 goals. Pardon me. There it is. And yeah, just down by 2. So he's not really on pace, but that's a bad team in Detroit. We talked about it earlier. We touched on that. I think if he can fit in on either side of the wing, which is nice in Vegas, and if he just settles in nicely, he'll get a lot of opportunities to hit a lot of empty nets. So I think he'll fit nicely there. So I'll give Vegas. I'll give them the B plus, and Detroit on the back end of that. I'll give them an A.
Yeah, I'm giving Golden Knights a B minus, and I'm giving the Red Wings an A minus. So I think they did a good job in recouping for Tatar. All right, the huge trade, of course, is the Lightning getting Ryan McDonagh and JT Miller, and the Rangers picking up Vladislav Nemestikov, first round pick this year, a conditional second round pick next year, Brett Howden, and Lieber Hayek. It's a good stockpile for the Rangers there.
Yeah, no, that's the Rangers' dream right there. That's a gold mine. Uh, but they lose their captain again to Tampa Bay. So I'll just say I like what the Rangers got. So I'll give them the A minus. But what Tampa Bay gets is Ryan McDonagh, and who I feel is a borderline. Norris candidate every season. He kills penalties. He can score goals. He can take assists. He does whatever his team needs him to do to win. And he's proven that on and off the ice. He did that in Wisconsin, led that team to a championship. Him and Derek Stepan, they went to New York. They couldn't do it there. Obviously, Stepan's out in the desert now. And McDonagh's now heading it down to the Sunshine State where maybe he'll get it done this year. But he is a great defenseman. And yeah, I think Tampa Bay I give them an A on this. This is that I don't see at any point where they get scored on with either Hedman or him on the ice. So it's that simple. And then you throw JT Miller in, fine, done.
Yeah. For what Ottawa was selling and wanting, Tampa Bay did a great job of switching gears and getting McDonagh and Miller. And they didn't have to give up anybody off the roster except for Nemestikov. So I'm giving Lightning an A.
Yeah, I agree.
The Rangers, I'm giving them an A as well because I still feel that Nemestikov's going to get even better.
Well, he scored in his very first game. Breakaway goal. Amazing shot.
He's got a lot of skill, and he could be a great forward for the Rangers, especially in this semi-rebuild that they're going through. And then all these prospects that they got as well, great. So I think they did a very good job. It sucks to lose a guy like McDonagh. And the other thing I do like about Tampa is McDonagh is on a nice contract. His cap hit is
4.7, and he's still got next season.
Yeah, so that I like as well for the Lightning there. So they both did really well.
That's a missed opportunity. McDonagh being on the market and Tampa Bay getting him is a missed opportunity for a lot of teams in many ways. Tampa Bay getting him, in my opinion, makes them the full front runners to win the cup. As long as Vasilevsky can keep stopping it, they got great defensemen that can clear it and guys that can score goals. So they're looking real nice.
Cool. And last but not least, Patrick Maroon goes to the Devils for a prospect, J.D. Dudek, and a third-round pick in 2019. Connor, what did I say Patrick Maroon was going to go for last week?
A third-round pick.
Yeah, and maybe a prospect.
Yeah, no, you nailed it on the head. I didn't think that they'd get that much for him. It was down to the wire, just with how well he was playing this year. I don't think he's gonna. I'm really like Patrick Maroon. I'm not trying to knock him. I didn't think they'd get that much for him. So good for everybody involved. I just don't think he's gonna do all that much in New Jersey. He doesn't have guys that are as skilled as Connor McDavid playing with him. Taylor Hall is still a great player, but I don't see Hall's sniping really helping Maroon's grinding and bumping ability in front of the net, unlike where McDavid was more of a playmaker and could see things happen before they did. So, I don't know. I don't really like... I'll give... I guess New Jersey got what they wanted for a third-round pick, so I'll give them the B-, and congrats to Edmonton for moving Maroon. That's great, so I'll give them a B+.
I'm almost the same here, that the Devils get a guy, and in my opinion, he might be able to be a better player for them in the playoffs. That's why I like Maroon. If he can play the way he's done before in the playoffs with the Ducks and even Edmonton last year in the playoffs, he had some very good games. And if he does that again, it's a good move for them, in my opinion. So I'm going to give him a B. And the Oilers, a B+, because they got a prospect and they got a third-round pick for a UFA. So that's always a good thing to do. Connor, you got one more thing to mention?
Fantasy. Oh, no, right. Oh, and the Vanek goes to Columbus.
Yes. The Vanek, Thomas Vanek, goes to Columbus for UC Jokinen and Tyler Mudd.
Yeah, well, UC Jokinen is a shootout specialist, so beware.
Yeah, watch out, guys who are playing the Canucks during
for the final 20 games of the season.
Yeah. And then they got applesauce.
Fantasy blurb, though. That was bad.
You set me up perfectly, and I just blurbed out fantasy.
Goodness gracious.
And I knew it was coming, too. I was waiting for it. Anyway, we'll be back in a minute.
All right, welcome back to the show, Kelly. Of course, people follow her on Twitter. You can too, at Hinx, Hinx. And of course, she's at Broad Street Hockey, talking lots of Flyers. And that's why we're calling you Kelly today. How do you love this Mrazek trade?
I gotta tell you, I kind of expected that this would just be a nice little stopgap. Not super great, not super bad, just kind of there. Didn't give up a lot to get him, but he's been really pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty darn good. Yeah. So this might turn out to be a nice little pickup for us.
Yeah, you guys got kind of lucky there. You only traded a third-round pick in 2009 conditional, and a conditional in 2018 fourth-round pick. And it seemed like pretty much, from what I understand from Detroit, and we talked about him on the last podcast as well, they almost pretty much kicked him out of town.
Yeah, so that was kind of the biggest concern that I had with him. Was that around the expansion draft, you started to hear a lot coming out of Detroit about him, kind of being a locker room cancer, not being a super popular guy with his teammates, having an attitude problem. It seemed like all of the beats in Detroit didn't really care for him very much. And when you have a team like the Flyers that's made up of a lot of young guys, you kind of worry a little bit about bringing that kind of personality into the locker room because you don't want it to infect your team.
Yeah.
But I mean, to be honest, like, who really knows? Like, maybe he hated Detroit. Maybe he, hated Athanasiu. Like, who knows? Like, nobody really knows what these rumors are or what they're not. And sometimes a guy just needs a change of scenery. And we kind of saw it with Steve Mason when we got him from Columbus.
Yeah.
He was floundering. He didn't seem super happy in Columbus, and he came here and he turned things around a little bit. Didn't ultimately work out for him here, but he did turn it around. So I'm kind of hoping that we might see the same thing out of Peter Mrazek, particularly since we have quite a few Czechs on our team. Yeah,
you sure do. And maybe it was, the GM or ownership spinning the media.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I kind of asked about this on Twitter once it kind of seemed clear that Mrazek was really our only option for picking up a goaltender.
Yeah.
And I got a lot of responses that seemed to indicate that in Detroit, a lot of the mainstream beats kind of hold water for the team. And so people weren't really surprised that when the expansion draft came and they were keeping him exposed, that kind of these negative stories started to come out because the team was pretty much done with him. So they were trying to run him out of town.
Well, with all the goaltenders that were available, the Robin Lehners, obviously Peter Mrazek, possibly Jimmy Howard, do you think you got the best possible goaltender on the market?
So I don't think we got probably the overall best player, but I think given that we gave up next to nothing for him, it's essentially a fourth-round pick unless he plays lights out through the playoffs, and then we'll have to give up a bit more. But, I mean, to be honest, if he plays lights out through the playoffs, I'll be fine giving up another pick. But I think the combination of what we gave up and the ability that Mrazek has, I think it's fine for what we need. Philly's playing really well right now, apart from the other day. But this is not, I mean, no one expects this year to be the year that we're winning a cup. So really, we just needed a warm body who could play competent NHL goaltending, and we've definitely gotten that. And from what we've seen over his first 5 games, it's pretty good.
Yeah, well, obviously that shutout in Montreal, 28 saves. He looked really good in that 1-0 win. So he seems to be settling in quite nicely.
Yeah, he had a bit of a clunker the other night against Carolina. But to be honest, the whole team had a bit of a clunker, and I think that they were due for one. They had points in, I think, their last 12. So, every now and again you got to get one in, and that was, I think, the bad night for everybody. So I'm hoping he'll come back strong. We've got a couple of games against Florida this weekend, and then a tough back-to-back against Pittsburgh and Boston next week. So we're going to need him to play well, and I'm hoping that we'll see the guy that we saw in Montreal and not the guy that we saw the other night against Carolina.
Well, you said that you hope that he can carry you as far as possible into the playoffs. How far do you think, realistically, Mrazek can help the Flyers? How far do you think he can help them get in this year's playoffs?
So I'm a pretty firm believer that a team really just needs average goaltending. It just needs to be good enough. It doesn't need to be, Carey Price at the top of his game. Is it nice to have that? Sure. But I think to make a run in the playoffs, you don't really need that. You just need a guy to make the saves that he has to make. That said, it's a super small sample size, but given what I've seen out of Peter Mrazek thus far, I feel pretty confident with him going into the playoffs, and hopefully we'll have Brian Elliott back soon. So with the two of them kind of playing as a tandem going into the playoffs, if the rest of the team can continue to play at the level they've been playing at, we might steal a round or two. I think it depends on the matchups. It depends on, I think for the Flyers to do anything in the playoffs, they're going to need to get super lucky as far as matchup goes. Like if we get the Penguins in the first round, I'll feel really good about things. But yeah, it all depends. If we end up with the Lightning in the first round, I don't know. It might be a little dicey, but I think this is a team that can steal a round for sure.
So you do feel a lot better than you did, say, a month and a half ago, when maybe you were throwing in the towel?
Yeah, so this has been like a really weird season for us.
Yeah.
I refuse to believe that anyone saw this coming. Particularly when we were dead in the middle of a 10-game losing streak.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone would have imagined that this team was fighting for the top spot in the Metro. I think it's a combination of things. I think that the Flyers' top line has been absolutely amazing. I don't think anyone could have predicted that it would have turned into something like this. Particularly Sean Couturier and Claude Giroux have been amazing together. And I don't think that anyone could have predicted that the Metro would be this mushed up. I think we really expected this to be a super tough division, and there have been a few teams underperforming, and that's good for us. So it's ended up being a lot more of a fun season than I expected it to be, and that's never a bad thing.
Yeah. All right, Kelly. Thanks for coming on the show. Again, you can find her on Twitter at Hinx, Hinx, and of course at Broad Street Hockey. Kelly, thanks for joining us again.
Thank you, guys. It's always fun to be on.
Good luck.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
All right, let's go to Vegas. Mark Warner, we've got on the show now from at Vegas Hockey Pod on Twitter. Of course, the Vegas Hockey Podcast. Mark, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Pete. Good to talk to you.
Cool. Let's get right into it. You guys made a move at the deadline, adding a player. First question, did you think this would happen? Even a couple months ago.
No, I didn't. Not at all. I didn't. Of course, nobody did.
Yep.
It's speechless time for expectations with the Vegas Knights. So, No, I didn't see them as buyers at all.
Yeah. All right, and then so you add Thomas Tatar, a.k.a. Tartar Sauce, and you trade a first, a second, and a third, all different years, though, so it's not impacting all at once. Do you think it's a big package to give? Is it a package you had to give because it's Vegas? What are your implications on this trade?
Well, when I first heard it following up the Ryan Reeves deal, which I think was part of the team that did need to be added to, because when you get to the playoffs, obviously it's a more physical game, and you need to have a physical presence, and that might have been an aspect of the Golden Knights that we haven't seen. And then when I first heard of the Tatar deal, my first reaction was overpayment. The plan still has to be to create depth in the organization and the long-term health of the franchise, right? You're not. Part of me still is in we're not trying to win now.
Yeah.
But you got to let that go. And the more I thought about it, when you give up a first, which is going to be mid to late 20s, so not that bad.
Yeah.
And the second's the following year, and then the third is until 2021.
Yeah.
And I think the important thing that warrants that kind of a price tag for Tatar is the 3 years left on his deal. You're not buying a rental for that price. You're buying a person who's going to be a core part of the franchise from age 27 to age 30 at a $5.3 million cap hit.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a little bit of an overpayment, but I've rethought my original feelings on the trade because they are second in the league in scoring, seventh in the league on the power play. I didn't think that adding scoring was something that you should probably pay that kind of a price for. But now you look into it and you think about it for a couple games. The speed he has and the 20, 25 goals on a third line kind of a thing. And he's certainly able to go up into the top six when necessary. I don't have a problem with the trade. I'm starting to like bringing him in.
Yeah.
Well, with Tatar now in the lineup, obviously he's a veteran to the playoffs and the postseason with Detroit all those years. How far and how big a push and how much noise do you think Vegas could make in the playoffs this season?
Well, they're not in the playoffs yet, so I'm going to answer that with a grain of salt. I'm fully on board with pumping the tires and the one game at a time cliche, and so on and so forth. That being said, if they do end up with home ice in, let's say, the first and second rounds, I think that they can make a lot of noise. They have, obviously, if Fleury's healthy, that's a big piece to have. There are other players. There's other players on the roster that have Stanley Cups. James Neal won the Stanley Cup. Marchessault played in the playoffs. You could go down the lineup and trickle in some playoff experience with a lot of players on the roster that a lot of people aren't aware of. And there's a good leadership core in this locker room that can, communicate to the guys that haven't been there before what to expect and how to be. So if they do get home ice in the first and second round, I think they can do quite a lot in the playoffs.
Cool.
If they make it.
Some people still could have some question marks. I'm not one of them, though. So, Mark, good luck to the Golden Knights in the playoffs, and enjoy it.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I did want to ask you guys real quick, if we have time, what Detroit Nation thinks of the trade. I've seen a little bit on the social media and such, but what's your guys' opinion? Is that enough to move a 27-year-old 20-goal scorer?
I think from what I've heard I got a couple buddies that are huge Wings fans. Sorry, Peter.
Yeah, I don't know. From what I feel from a lot of people that are saying online and stuff, I think they're kind of edging more to a little bit of a rebuild, or at least a mini rebuild. And moving Tatar is one of the things that they have to do that, just because he is getting older, and if they want to have a push with a younger core, he's not going to be a part of that core in a couple of years. That's for sure. So they're kind of happy with that trade in that aspect.
Yeah, and I got a couple buddies that are big Wings fans, and they brought up the point that they were just so happy that they got draft picks for him. Obviously, the third-round pick coming in 2021, not so much, but another first-round pick this year. They're piling up the picks, and it looks really good for them going forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
But still, don't want to lose the player, but happy with the price.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, Tatar's talented, but they're in rebuild mode.
Fair enough.
Yeah, you're gonna enjoy Tatar with some of his really slick moves. That's for sure.
Well, he showed a little bit of that Wednesday night against the Kings. I look for more of that the longer he's with the club, and the more he gets settled in with his line mates and the chemistry gets built. I think he's going to be a big piece.
Yeah.
For a few years.
Cool. Thanks for coming on the show, Mark. Again,
guys.
You can check out Mark on Twitter at Vegas Hockey Pod, and see you later, Mark. Thanks for coming on the show.
All right, thanks for having me, guys. Keep up the good work.
Now we're going to talk a little Sharks and the move that they made. Welcome to the show, Ian Reed. You can follow him on Twitter if you want to, at Ian Blogs Hockey. And of course, you're at tealtintedglasses.com, Ian?
Yeah, tealtintedglasses.com or tealtownusa.com. I do podcasts in both places.
All right, let's get into the big addition that you guys did. You added Mr. Evander, as I like to call him, Holyfield Kane. And going to the Sabres is a conditional first in 2019, a conditional 2020 year, fourth round pick, and Danny O'Regan. First off, how do you like the trade?
I think when you look at the elements that go into the trade, a lot of the conditions, I like it a lot. I think it was a low risk, potential high payoff move by Doug Wilson, who I thought did really well for his one trade deadline move.
And for Kane, is that the big need that you needed in this lineup? Was that the biggest hole that you guys had, you think?
Yeah, I think it addresses a lot of needs. I think, this is a guy who scores a lot of goals 5-on-5, which the Sharks have struggled with this season.
Mm-hmm.
It's a guy who definitely has some sandpaper in his game, but can play, some big minutes as well. So I think it's definitely the Sharks get accused of being pushed around a lot, and Evander Kane, I think, addresses that issue.
Where is he currently slotted in the lineup?
Right now, he's playing on the top line with Joe Thornton being injured. So you have Joe Pavelski centering a line with Evander Kane and Jonas Donskoy.
And it's working well so far in the early going?
Yeah, we got, I think he has 3 points so far. He had 2 big points in the first game that he played with the Sharks. And they really, the game in Edmonton, they came out, looked a little sluggish to start. And then once that line started going, it just kind of picked up the rest of the team. And they were able to come back and win that game after going down early.
Well, one big question mark surrounding Evander Kane his entire career is his attitude. Do you think entering a team with guys like Joe Thornton and Pavelski, those kind of veterans, do you think that will probably tame down and he'll buy into the system? Or do you think he could actually hinder a potential playoff run?
I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. Right now, he's living with Joe Thornton, so that's, I think, a positive. I think that the Sharks have enough guys in the room that they should be able to deal with a guy like Evander Kane. I think you've got, you've got guys like Brent Burns, you've got Logan Couture, Joe Pavelski, and Jumbo might not be the captain anymore, but he's still a big part of that leadership group, I think. So, and then you have other veterans like Joel Ward also in there. So I feel like if there's an issue that comes up, I feel like there's the personnel there to deal with it.
I love Joe Thornton, how he's still such a big leader on this team. He's bringing in Kane into his own house. He goes and drives to the airport to pick up Evander. How great of a guy is Joe?
I love Jumbo. I mean, I've always been a big fan of Jumbo.
Yeah.
This is one of the guys who, if you listen to Jeff Merrick at all, I mean, the one thing Jeff Merrick always says about Jumbo is he's one of the guys that's still in the league that still tries to keep everyone together after the game. Hey, come and, let's be a team for a drink, and then everyone goes home rather than, everyone takes a shower and goes home by themselves.
Amazing. So now with the addition of Kane, how far do you think they could go in these playoffs?
I'm cautiously optimistic. I think that their defense is still a little sketchy. We don't know what Joe Thornton we're going to get back, if we get Joe Thornton back at all.
Mm-hmm.
And the West, I mean, there's a lot of power in the West this year, I think. So, I mean, optimistically, I'd like to see them go a couple rounds, but it really depends on who they draw in the first round. If they draw LA, they could be in some serious trouble.
Yeah, LA's pretty unpredictable there. All right, that's it. Thanks, Ian, for coming on the show. You can follow again Ian on Twitter at IanBlogsHockey. Ian, again, thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, anytime, guys. Thanks for having me.
Cool, man. Maybe we'll even have you later on in the season when we do some Team ISOs. All right, good luck for your Sharks.
Thanks, man.
All right, let's get into some post-trade deadline interviews. And we've got Acha from Raw Charge, right, Acha?
That is correct. Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
It's pretty good. I just went to the Leafs game this past Monday.
Oh, nice.
And I had a fantastic time, actually. A friend of mine that I know from Pension Plan Puppets His name is Miguel. He came and flew down here, and we went to the game together. So it was fun to sit. Actually, I have to say I was surrounded by Leafs fans. I wouldn't even say that there were a few Leafs fans. I'd say that it was 75% of the arena.
Wow.
So there's
Leafs
a
fans
lot of
travel
go
well.
Leafs go. Yeah. Also, the ticket prices are probably affordable. Like you could buy a ticket to Tampa and a ticket to the game and still be coming out ahead. You know.
Yeah, we already talked
Too.
a little bit about that in the trending now that the Leafs are increasing them 15% for next season. So
Oh no way.
yes, so that's going to be I think 7 or 8 years that I have not gone to a Leaf game. But yes, I'm going to probably go see another one somewhere else again next year.
Buffalo.
Yeah, I've done Buffalo. I've done many cities, and
Right.
actually, just for you, Acha, I'm actually just bought tickets 2 days ago to go see Tampa in the first round. So I'm gonna be able to catch game 1 or 2 down there.
I can't believe that you bought playoff tickets before I bought playoff
No,
tickets.
no.
That's pretty amazing.
They're not available yet, but I already booked the flight and the hotel for or that early April 11th to like 15th
Yeah,
or
I was
16th.
gonna say, where's my notification, Tampa
Yeah.
Bay Lightning? But apparently they're not jumping the gun that much. But
Not yet.
welcome, awesome. If you guys are in town, hit us up and we'll have a raw charge party for you.
Oh, for sure. Maybe I'll do that. All right, let's get into some of this trade deadline talk. So the big trade happened, of course. Ryan McDonagh, JT Miller go to Tampa. On the other way goes Nemestikov, a first round 2018 pick, a conditional 2019 second round pick,
First round
and of
pick.
course,
Second round, that's right.
second round, and of course Brett Howden and Lieber Hayek.
Yep, that is what happened. It's very interesting, the bait and switch that happened leading up to this trade. We were, all of us, every single one of us, were focused on Carlson.
Yeah.
We thought for sure it would happen. We all read Travis Yost's tweets, thinking, okay, it's going to happen any minute now. And of course, Yzerman keeps his cards pretty close to his chest and was creeping up on 3. I was already in Tampa, sitting at a bar with Miguel, waiting for the Tampa Leafs game.
Yeah.
And I was going, do I leave the bar? Do I leave this Wi-Fi and go show him the aquarium before this game, or do I stay here and wait for the trade? I had my iPad and a keyboard, and so the trade went down a little bit after 3. We had made plans to leave. We were settling up the bill and everything. On the way out the door, when my phone started buzzing off the hook, and I thought, okay, here it is. Turned back around, sat down, and whipped out the trade article. So
Yeah.
that's how it went. But really, we were focused on Carlson and thought that would happen somehow. We weren't quite sure how. We weren't sure what we would lose, but we were pretty sure it would be Vladislav Nemesnikov either way.
Yeah. Do you think it would have been a no deal or squashed for sure if it was either Point or Sergachev?
Yeah, that is correct. We're not going to move either one of those guys. Serg, because he is one of the better defensive young players that we have. I mean, there's not really much depth outside of him in Tampa right now. Not sure, and I guess this is where McDonagh comes in. I suddenly feel a bit of hope that we can find our way out of the first round or the second round.
Well, that's what I was curious about, because if you look at all the odds sheets now, Tampa Bay is right up there at the top. Do you think that they are the surefire number 1 contender to win the Cup this year?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's just win that Cup, you know? Sorry, putting it like that, and I've seen the odds as well, I think they are even with Vegas right now. I don't know. I can't tell you because I haven't seen McDonagh on the ice. I don't know how much time he's going to be given. I don't know who he'll be paired with, possibly Strawman, his old D pair. If that's the case, maybe they have some old chemistry they can reignite and it'll settle down our second pairing. I know that there's been some talk that he'll possibly flip sides and play on the right, and then he could play with Hedman. I don't know if that would work very well. I don't know if defensemen enjoy playing on their offside, or if our system will be conducive to it. So until I see their chemistry on the ice, I don't want to make any bets for the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking about...
let's just get out of the regular season, and then we can see what we can see.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Well, you were talking about old connections. Of course, we know that there's a big, strong connection between the Rangers and the Lightning with the names of Callahan, Strawman, as you mentioned. Now with the two additions.
Well call us the Tampa Bay Rangers.
Well, Dan Girardi's there too. Him and McDonagh played together forever.
Exactly.
Yeah. Although talking to the various Rangers podcasters, they've said, please don't saddle McDonagh with Girardi again. He'll suffer PTSD. So
yeah.
Here's hoping that Bonus doesn't do that.
All right. And then before we leave you, do you think that was the biggest hole that Lightning had to fill, was a good top defenseman?
Yeah, although now I'm a little bit worried that our first line of forwards is going to be thrown off balance by the lack of Nemesnikov.
Yeah.
Now, Vladdy never scored very much, but he was instrumental in digging pucks out of our D zone to give it to Stamkos and Kucherov. So given that he's not going to be part of that chemistry anymore, how's that first line going to play out?
Yeah.
That might be a hole that's suddenly exposed by trading away Vladdy. So I don't know if JT Miller can rise and fill that role. Maybe he'll suddenly appear on the first line of Tampa. Right now he's second line. So who knows? I have a lot more questions than I have answers right now, and I know you guys are looking for answers, especially with regards to how Tampa will match up to the Leafs in the upcoming postseason, hopefully.
Yeah.
But let's wait and see. How about you guys? How are you feeling about the moves that were made at trade deadline?
Well, for me, it's just the fact that the Tampa Bay. I've been watching McDonagh ever since he was at Wisconsin. I'm a big college hockey fan, and the fact that they were able to get him from Montreal for what they did, and he was just basically bred in the Rangers organization, and he was exactly what they needed for so long. I think it's the best situation, and it was the best possible player that you guys could have gotten. So I think that the sky's the limit for Tampa Bay in the playoffs this year. I think he's going to be a nice insurance marker on that back end.
I feel a bit better now. Thank you. I mean, after hearing the name Carlson and suddenly having it be McDonagh, we were all a little bit taken aback. However, I think hearing your confidence in him as a player makes me feel better about the trade.
Yeah.
How about the moves that the Leafs made?
Oh, well, we know.
What should we worry about? I know it was a couple of bottom six guys.
Yeah, we got Plekanec. Pretty much was the only
the
major move.
Really, I mean, right? It's a guy that can win faceoffs. Bozak he's still pretty solid, right around 50%, but he doesn't have that edge right now. And Plekanec, he can definitely win draws, and he's been in the playoffs before, and a lot of the young guys obviously only have the one series under their belt, which was last year against Washington, and it wasn't a positive experience. So I think Plekanec can bring something to the team that they just don't have.
But it is looking like a tough run. If the Leafs want to go to the finals, they would have to go through Boston. They would have to go through Tampa. They might have to go through Pittsburgh. So chances are slim. So the thing I was looking forward to is maybe trading a guy like big names like a JVR or Bozak and recouping, because you can see in some of these trades, a lot of first-round picks were moved and more. So the Leafs could have went that way, especially since they didn't really add anything.
When do you think the Leafs' window is for making deep runs?
Well,
do you think it's next year? Do you think it's the year after?
Well, I think it's as soon as even this year. It's just that those three top teams in this division are very, very tough. So whoever gets out of this division looks good unless they've gotten a few injuries to get out of it, right? So I think whoever comes out of this division has a good chance to go the limit.
I think, I agree with Peter. I think McDonagh would have looked really nice in blue and white, in all honesty, manning the line. Haha, fair.
Yeah, Eisenman trying to copy the Leafs jersey. Yeah, say that again.
Fair, but I just don't think that no matter how good Frederik Andersen can be, he can be the goat of our of the Maple Leafs season. But in the playoffs, stopping 45 shots a game will get real tiresome real quick.
I have a small story. So there's a big 25 on the ice in Tampa Bay right now, in the middle of the ice, and that's because it's the 25th year of our franchise.
Mm-hmm.
So stepping into the arena for the Leafs game, there's such a range of Leaf jerseys. Like, it goes all the way back. Like, every single person on Legends Row is represented on a jersey, and it's crazy looking around and seeing the depth of history. So I just felt humbled. It was like, oh my gosh, this is such an old franchise, and it's so amazing. And it's just wonderful to see this history come into this arena and kind of bless it in a way. So that was a nice experience, and also very, like, busted me down a little from my pride in our 25 years.
Was Dave Anderchuk number 25 for the Lightning?
No, he was not. Let me see. Oh my goodness.
I thought he might have been.
Have you seen his statue outside of our arena, by the way?
Yeah,
There's a statue of Andreychuk.
Yes, I do know of it, but I haven't seen it. But yeah, it just reminded me when you were saying that he played for two great franchises, I guess, right? So he helped win a cup in that city, and he helped us almost win one very closely for a few years here. So I did enjoy watching him play. All right.
Oh, wow. Well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. And shall we talk again first round of playoffs?
Yes, we will. We'll talk more Tampa Bay coming towards the playoffs then for sure. Thanks for coming on the show, Acha. And again, if you want to hear more from Acha, you can go follow her on Twitter at Tanya Rezek, so TANYAREZAK, and at Raw Charge. Again, Acha, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Welcome back to Jablam Hockey, folks. Got a quick fantasy up and down for you now. Just one forward, one defenseman, and one goalie up. And the same going down. First up, forward going up. A guy that you need to add is Thomas Tatar. We talked about him earlier. Yes, only 12 goals and 16 assists on the campaign, but he's only 23% owned right now, and he's going to a Vegas team that is right up there with the top scorers in the league. On defense, you want a guy that's finding his scoring? I'll give you Matt Niskanen. He scored 6 points in his last 7 games. He's only 36% owned, and he's on a great Capitals team looking to make a playoff push. So add Niskanen if you need defensive scoring. Goaltending. Peter Mrazek, his value has gone up 10% in the last couple days. He's up to 65% owned now. He's been lights out since arriving in Philly. He's won 4 out of his last 5 starts and posted a 28-save shutout in his last outing in Montreal. We touched on that earlier in the episode. Going down now on the forwards, you got to get rid of Milan Lucic. I can't believe 55% of owners still have him. He has not scored a goal in 27 games. We'll leave that there. Justin Schultz on the Penguins is 50% owned. A lot of people thought that he'd have a resurgence in Pittsburgh and possibly be a Norris candidate. Guess not. He's got 3 goals, 14 assists on the campaign, and no points in his last 5 games. And rounding out our drop list is Jake Allen. He's had a tough year without Brian Elliott. He has not seemed to be able to become the 1A goaltender that St. Louis thought and hoped he would be. He's lost 5 straight starts as well as his starting role in St. Louis. If he can get his mind focused, maybe he'll come back next year and be that Jake Allen that he was the last couple seasons, but a tough year for Jake Allen. So drop him if you have him, and he's 89% owned, so that is a hot take. Peter, what do you think?
I just was shocked that you were going down on some forwards. All right, sorry about that,
Real,
but it just bothered me for a few seconds. That's all. But yeah, no, those are good calls on a few of them.
18, man.
I'm still 13 years old. Leave me alone. All right. But I do like the addition that you said for Tatar. I do think with the Golden Knights, no matter which line they put out there, they pretty much all put up some points. And so whichever line Tatar goes to, he'll pick up his scoring. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, I think he'll be invaluable to their power play unit as well. So I think his experience and just knowing where to look at the right times, right, seeing those lanes, I think he'll really help their power play numbers.
All right, that's it for this week's Jablam Hockey episode. Again, check us out next week and check us out on our website, jablamhockey.com. Follow us on Twitter at jablamhockey. And next episode, hopefully, we'll go back to doing some team ISOs. And Connor and I will pick some division winners, who teams we think could win their divisions. Again, if you have any questions or comments, please tweet us at Jablam Hockey, or of course, myself at Russian98, or Connor at Sports with Tree. See you all next week.